Game Pass gets another brand new announcement for the first one here in July. There's more games coming over to the Xbox Retro Classics. AMD and PlayStation announced their partnership after Xbox has announced theirs going into the next generation. Nintendo, they've accidentally shown the amount of sales of the Nintendo Switch 2 so far, and it is staggering how well the Switch 2 is doing. 2K could be coming back as well with college basketball and Outriders 2. Looks like it's one of those games that was canceled. So we'll jump into all of that. But before we do, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit the subscribe, share, like, all of that great stuff to help the channel grow, help grow the community, as I do bring out these videos on a daily basis. So I do appreciate that. But for now, let's jump into it. So we have the latest announcement here for Game Pass in July. Game Pass so far this year has been absolutely phenomenal. I don't think anybody can deny that, with first-party releases, big third-party titles coming in. And it is continuing throughout July. In my previous video, I went over the games that are coming that we do know so far in the entire month of July. And I'm sure there will be other ones here that get announced even in the second wave of Game Pass games for July that we haven't heard about yet. But here is what we have right now with this first announcement. Some great stuff here. And I think the biggest hitter for myself, that game that I'm extremely excited about, I think for a lot of people here, is going to be Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, which is a day one game. But available today is Little Nightmares 2, and this is across all the tiers of Xbox Game Pass. Same with Rise of the Tomb Raider across all the tiers. So that's Ultimate, PC, and Game Pass Standard. And then we have Legend of Mana coming July 2nd to Game Pass Standard, and Trials of Mana also going July 2nd to Game Pass Standard, a game that I did play when it first dropped into Game Pass a while ago when it was in Ultimate. I love these Mana games, so I really enjoyed Trials of Mana going through and playing that one. Legend of Mana, I will jump into that at some point as well. We have the Ultimate Chicken Horse, which is not a game I know too much about, but it is a party platformer, they say, where you and your friends build the level as you play, placing deadly traps before trying to reach the end of the level. And this is coming on July 3rd to all tiers of Game Pass. The Ascent is back here on July 8th. This is a phenomenal cyberpunk isometric style of RPG. If you have not played The Ascent, I highly recommend going to play it. If you missed it in its first round, this is coming on July 8th. A very, very, very good game. And it's also has a co-op option if you want to jump in and play that way. We have Minami Lane coming on July 9th to Game Pass Ultimate and to PC Game Pass, which, again, don't know too much about this, but it is a casual management sim. It's not up my alley. I probably won't be checking that one out. And then we have the big one here on July 11th, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4. And I've been playing the demo and stuff. It's great. It's just like the first remake of 1+2, but with all of the 3+4 content. These games are just so fun. So I can't wait to play this one I've been looking forward to for a while. And of course, it is day one. High on Life is coming on July 15th to all tiers. If you haven't played High on Life, highly recommend you go ahead and check this game out. Hilarious game. Great comedy, fun gameplay. Your weapons talk to you and everything. But that's a good announcement here to kick off June. Obviously, I think the highlight, again, is the Tony Hawk game, but other games in here that if you haven't played it, I definitely recommend checking out, like High on Life, like The Ascent, and like the Mana games, which are great, fun RPGs. Now, the other thing Xbox has been doing here that they recently did put out is the Retro Classics app. And I jumped into the Retro Classics app. It's pretty cool. You have like your own leaderboards, your own challenge system in there. There's Xbox achievements in there as well. A lot of these games are Activision, older style, I think Atari games and stuff. So there's definitely a lot of room here for improvement for this Xbox Retro Classics. I would love to see them branch out and get different retro games in there that don't have to be under Activision, and give people options of different systems and everything to go ahead there and play. And they are bringing more games to it. And in fact, they're celebrating with some more titles, because 1 million players have actually jumped in to play the Retro Classics app. So it says here, we've got some exciting news for you. Retro Classics, our awesome collaboration with Antstream Arcade, keeps getting better. We've added a new batch of games recently for Game Pass members, and want to thank more than the 1 million players who have already checked out the Retro Classics since launch. So recently out of games, we have Cosmic Commuter, Heart of China, Skiing, Solar Storm, and Subterranea. And they say be here on the lookout for new tournaments and community challenges. And they also go on here to talk about how in 2025 and 2026, they are planning to expand out this Retro Classics with 100 plus more games coming to the service, which it just is awesome to see that they're going to bring more stuff here. Specifically, they say the roadmap delivers over 120 classic titles over the coming months, bringing new challenges and tournaments throughout 2025 and well into 2026. And the achievement would not have been possible without the support and collaboration of the global Xbox and Antstream team. So they're going to be bringing over 100 plus more games to this app, which is absolutely needed, and it's good that they are continuing to support this. I wonder what types of games they will be. If they will be branching out to more systems, more retro systems that you're going to be able to play, and that is going to be something that if they make this into a viable app that a lot of people continuously jump into, people are taking on the challenges and sharing their scores with people, we'll probably get games across all different generations from different systems out there, especially because it's also paired up with Antstream here. So I don't think it would just be limited to Activision or games that will be under Xbox now that they own so many IPs. It is with Antstream. The only caveat here that may turn some people off is you are actually streaming these games. These would be super easy to download. And I would love Xbox to kind of go beyond what Antstream does provide here and give the option to download these games as well. I mean, they run great. I haven't had any issues, but I think people would like to see that too. Okay, we have had the announcement for Xbox and AMD going into the next generation. And this announcement from Sarah Bond, when she came out, she was pretty clear here that Xbox is making their own consoles, and there will be many different avenues for people to go in and play Xbox, whether that's through handheld, whether that's through the at-home console, and they will have this chip from AMD that Xbox is collaborating with them to create, and that's going to be the powering the next generation of Xbox. It's kind of funny because we've seen a lot of conversations, you could say, pop up over the last few days, specifically because of the Laura Fryer video, which I gave you my opinions on that in yesterday's video. I don't think that video really gives anything new. It's old talking points, kind of like for console wars and stuff. So I don't think that video does really deserve the attention it got, simply because there was not very insightful, at least in my opinion. But I just, other people may think it was groundbreaking news or groundbreaking opinions that she did put out there. But I find it interesting because AMD is currently within both the PS5 and within the Xbox Series X and S. And now both PlayStation and Xbox are going to be partnering here with AMD going forward to the next generation, as PlayStation has come out and announced their partnership with AMD. Jack Wynn here of AMD put out this tweet and says, from the same source, two branches, one vision, my good friend and fellow gamer Cerny, so Mark Cerny, and I recently reflected on our shared journey, symbolized by these two pieces of amethyst split from the same stone. Project Amethyst is a co-engineering effort between PlayStation and AMD focused on machine learning driven graphics and gameplay innovations built around two core goals: designing an architecture optimized specifically for machine learning workloads in gaming, and developing high-quality neural networks that push the boundaries of real-time game graphics. This isn't just a journey, it's a co-engineered reality. From hardware breakthroughs to software advances, we've delivered smarter, more efficient solutions like super resolution in FSR4, and we're now paving the way for machine learning-based frame generation and ray regeneration in FSR Redstone. And this is just the beginning. There's enormous potential ahead, and we're incredibly proud of what we've achieved so far. The future of gaming is bright, and we're just getting started. Grateful for the partnership, the friendship, and what's next. And then you also have here Tom Warren quote tweeting this and saying, AMD is co-engineering both Xbox and PlayStation chips. Going to be interesting to see how Sony and Microsoft execute their visions for the next gen console. So They're both doing the same thing they did last generation, which is they are working with AMD. They're going to create chips for the next generation of consoles, which I think is completely fine because they did a decent job here with the PS5 and the Series X and S. And I'm sure they will continue to give us some decent results going forward. And there's going to be two avenues here. You're going to have the PS6. I'm guessing that's the only SKU they're going to have. And then maybe they're also going to have a PlayStation handheld, which has been in the works. Then you're going to have Xbox, which is going to have a high powered at home console, probably have some other consoles made by other manufacturers. Then there's going to be the handhelds that they are going to be creating going forward. I mean, we're getting one this year with the Xbox ROG Ally. So that is what the next generation is shaping up to be. If you look under the hood, however, because we've seen a lot of these discussions of what is an Xbox and what isn't an Xbox. And I find that discussion ridiculous in the sense that if you look under the hood right now of the Series X and S and of the PlayStation 5, they're both AMD. They're both basically the exact same thing in specs. They're both x86 architecture. The major difference between the PlayStation and the Xbox is the plastic outer shell over the hardware inside of it. And then, of course, the operating system and the ecosystems, which is the software. And that's going to be the exact same thing going forward into the next generation. So whether you consider the ROG Xbox Ally an Xbox or not, to me, the whole argument and discussion that people are coming up with here is kind of ridiculous because AMD is within both. They're both the same. They just have the different outer shell branding towards them. It really does not matter who makes that outer shell. What matters is the chip inside the box and the ecosystem and software that you get when you choose to pick one of those up. And we'll see here what happens. I think going forward, because of the openness that it sounds like Xbox is doing, again, I'm far more excited for them, especially if they're going to be including things like Steam on the next Xbox console. To me, that is going to be by far the better choice for the games that I play and the games that I own and the ecosystems that I enjoy using. So exciting stuff here, but AMD again taking over both Xbox and PlayStation going into the next generation. One company that does not use AMD is Nintendo, as they partnered with Nvidia to create their chip. And I'll say that Nintendo Switch 2 has done some pretty cool stuff. The DLSS that makes games run and look decent on a far underpowered console comparatively to what's out there on the market. Cyberpunk 2077 is one of those games that you get pretty wowed that this thing is running on the Nintendo Switch 2 and that it looks and plays as good as it does. I mean, comparatively to the hardware that it's on. The Switch 2, however, none of that matters. The gamers for Nintendo, they don't care about frame rates. They don't care about resolutions. They don't care about having the most high powered device. They buy Nintendo because they like their games, they like their ecosystem, and they know Nintendo, and they stick on that platform. They've done so well here with the Nintendo Switch 2, even after you could say a shaky start with the pricing and people really up in arms against it. They had announced that they had already sold 3 million Nintendo Switch 2 consoles, but it looks like it's even more than that right now. And they are just shattering their previous records and everything. It says here that the console sold over 5 million units worldwide from June 5th to June 30th, 2025, because Nintendo put out a sales update to the Nintendo Switch 2 for its investors on the investors relations website early. And this was a complete accident, but they put out the numbers here and they say the update, which has been withdrawn as of 7 p.m. Tokyo time, showed that the Nintendo Switch 2 sold 5 million units in its first 26 days on the market. And the regional breakdown here is 1.8 million units in the Americas, 1.47 million units in Japan, 1.18 million units in Europe, and 550,000 units in the other parts of the world. And this achievement is huge. It shatters records because it took 26 days for the Switch 2 to sell 5 million units, and it took 2.5 months for the PlayStation 5, which sold 3.4 million in its first month, and 4 months for the Nintendo Switch to reach that 5 million. So pretty impressive that the Switch 2 here, what it's doing in terms of sales. This could be an insane generation potentially. And I say potentially because prices, they are going up, they are rising. And we're still in the enthusiast era right now of the Switch 2. So all of the major Nintendo Switch lovers and Nintendo Switch 2 enthusiasts that don't want to wait at all to pick up the next gen console, they're going to go pick these up now here for the first few months or so. But then after that, if the prices are extremely high, you're going to have the more casuals or the people that just don't see the need to upgrade yet, waiting and waiting to buy. But if the prices never drop or come down, they may just opt out at some point, or they'll wait very long before picking up a Nintendo Switch 2. So it could be huge if this does continue. But like I said, I think we need to wait a little bit here, a year or 2 years or so, to really gauge how well this thing is doing because of the prices. And because people who are picking up the Switch 2 now may not even think about how expensive some of these games are, and that may also turn them off, and that creates word of mouth and all of these types of things. But as of right now, the Switch 2 is doing absolutely phenomenal. Yesterday I talked about college basketball coming back from EA. They put out a kind of cryptic tweet that basically says that the game is coming back. Well, 2K here is looking that they're jumping into the ring as well to rival EA's college basketball title, calling itself the undisputed home of basketball games, which makes sense because they're the only ones that make an NBA game now, and 2K is massive. So somebody tweeted here, Young So said 2K should be making college basketball game. 2K tweets that and says the campus has been quiet for too long. And they go on here to say 2K is the undisputed home of basketball gaming. We have a strong history with college hoops and are exploring exciting new ways to bring athletes and schools to life. Class is in session. So we could be back to having 2 college basketball games and not just one of them. Now, only if 2K could somehow get into making football games again, somehow get into making NFL games again, although I know obviously EA owns that license. I'd even like to see 2K make a college football game because everyone knows ESPN NFL 2K5 is the greatest football game, and it still rivals, I would say, current day Maddens with some of the mechanics and animations and stuff in that game. It's just a phenomenal game. So I would love to see that happen, but it looks like college basketball games are coming back for people who love those games. And finally, Outriders 2. This game was going to be coming, but it was one of the games that was canceled by People Can Fly. Unfortunately, if you are a fan of that game, this is the report that comes from a relatively new outlet named The Thumb Wars, and Insider Gaming can also corroborate the details. They say the game, which was under the codename Project Gemini, was in its motion capture stage of development earlier this year. And they also go on here to say, as for why Gemini and Outriders 2 was canceled, the reasoning hasn't been publicly announced, but several sources have stated that the issue stemmed from alleged funding and communication issues with the game's publisher, Square Enix. So Project Gemini was one of the 2 projects canceled in June that did result in layoffs of 50 employees at People Can Fly. And yeah, we're not getting a second one in this game, and we'll probably never get another Outriders again. I enjoyed Outriders when it first dropped. The first one, it did drop into Game Pass unexpectedly. Like, it was a last minute announcement for a day one game into Game Pass. I'm guessing Xbox went out there and struck a last minute deal. It was a looter shooter, but I found the mechanics and the gameplay in Outriders a ton of fun. And I think Outriders 2 could have easily expanded on that and made it better and been a pretty big game, but it looks like they're not even going to give it a chance, which is pretty unfortunate. But I will end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video.